Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Locker Room, our weekly podcast where we shine a light on the student athletes here in the Bayou region of South Louisiana. I am Stan Gravois. He is Dustin Robichaud. How are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic, Stan. I would like to be the first to wish you happy National Coaches Day.
Is it really?
It is Coaches Day.
Oh, well, I'd like to pass that on to everybody else out there. I did not know that. National Coaches Day.
Yep.
That's nice. And I'm sure if I went online somewhere through social media, they're probably posting this everywhere. But that's very nice. I hope all you coaches out there who are watching are having a terrific day. I know how hard you work. Been there, done that. So I do. That's good. I'm glad you found
Good
that.
one. Yeah, it's good. I think to take a day and recognize all the effort those guys put in.
So today is Monday, October 6th.
Yes.
That being the case, would every October 6th be National Coaches Day, or is it always like the first Monday?
I'm not sure. I just checked the calendar that I use, and it said it was National Coaches Day. So I didn't do a deep dive into where it came from or anything.
The amazing thing is that related to football and volleyball, which are two big sports that are really going strong right now. When I say going strong, we're on like the backstretch. I hate to call it the home stretch, because there are basically 10 weeks of regular season of football and volleyball related to the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. We just passed up the halfway. We're in the back stretch, headed for the home stretch, and it seems like it's a blink of an eye.
It's crazy.
I did always say this. Once you get to week 5, you sort of have to start looking at where teams fit to see if they have a possibility of making the playoffs. So we'll talk about that just a little bit. We're also going to obviously give you the latest standings related to a lot of our teams in the area in those two sports, as we do every week. As a matter of fact, let's jump into it. Volleyball. Volleyball in our area had a terrific tournament, and I have to give a huge kudos to Craig Hamner, head coach at Covenant Christian Academy. He yearly holds a huge tournament in the Houma Civic Center that has over 60 teams in it. It's the biggest tournament in the state of Louisiana, and he was telling me last week it's one of the biggest in all of the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine getting 60 high schools to come in one venue and play? It takes a lot of coordination. So again, congratulations to him for putting that together. Terrebonne General was there with athletic trainers. Brett and his crew did a terrific job as they supported all of the schools that were there by having sports medicine help there in case there were any injuries along the way. Again, a terrific tournament. Each team that was in this tournament got 5 matches in, and you don't play a best out of 5. You actually play the best out of 3 in this one. And a lot of our teams that are locally get to play some teams that are from outside of our local area. So again, kudos to him for doing that. Again, with 5 games being played by a lot of our local teams this weekend, let's get you the current records of all of our local teams. First in Division 1. Division 1 is obviously the division that hosts our large schools in the state of Louisiana. We have 4 teams from the Bayou region. Terrebonne is at 12-12. Playoff start today, they would be in. Central Lafourche is at 10-13. Playoff start today, they would be in, but it's a little bit on shaky ground. They have to make sure that they finish strong. H.L. Bourgeois is 5-13. They would be on the outside looking in, but the good news for H.L. Bourgeois is they're playing better. In the last 3 games they've played, they've won 2 of those coming in that CCA tournament. And they're starting to get a little mojo together. And unfortunately for Thibodeau High, they are 3-18. They would be on the outside looking in. Then you go to Division 2. In Division 2, we also have 4 local high schools that participate. All of them would be in the playoffs. Not particularly strong seeded, but they would be in the playoffs. South Lafourche at 15-7, I think would be at home. I think they would have a home match to start it all off with. Then you have South Terrebonne, who is 12-10. They had a good tournament this weekend over at the CCA tournament. Ellen Memorial did not have a good tournament. Ellen Memorial started out this year at 8-1, and now they are 13-12. 13 wins, 12 losses. And they just ran into a buzzsaw this weekend, losing all 5 of their matches at the CCA tournament. And finally, Assumption would be in at 11-12, and I wouldn't want to have to play Assumption in the playoffs, simply because there's a tradition there They know how to play. They play a very tough schedule. 11 and 12 is not your normal Assumption type record at this point in the season. But again, I think they're okay. They're going to make a little noise, I think, when the playoffs start because of the tough schedule they play. In Division III, you have two teams from our Bayou region and both play extremely tough schedules. E.D. White Catholic, 16 and 6. Remember, they were your semifinalists last year. And Vanderbilt Catholic struggling just a little bit at 7 and 13. Vanderbilt lost to E.D. White in the quarterfinals last year. So those two teams are really good teams. They'll be good when they get into that bracket. Just got to hope you get a good draw along the way. Finally, two teams that are in lower classifications. Homer Christian, 14 and 7. They had a good weekend over at the CCA tournament. They're playing well under Sandy Charlet. I have to apologize for that too, Dustin. She kind of called me out. It's not Sandy Charlotte. It's Sandy Charlet. French. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Well, she handles our monthly awards with Homer Christian related to our Student of the Month. And I had always been calling her Sandy Charlotte. Sorry, Sandy. Sandy Charlet. Got it. Covenant Christian, again, who threw that wonderful tournament this weekend, they're doing just fine also. They're in Division 5. They are 13 and 7 right now, so they'd be in the playoff as things stand. So, again, our volleyball looking pretty good to get a lot of teams in. Not necessarily a lot of teams with high PowerPoint rankings, but a lot of them that are solid would be in, and maybe they make a little noise in the playoffs. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are on the backstretch with football. Week 5 completed this past weekend. Remember, there are 10 regular season games. You do everything you can to get in the playoffs. Interestingly enough, districts really don't matter that much anymore. Don't get me wrong. The kids want to win a district title. The coaches are playing to win a district title. But at the end of the year, everything being said and done, you can win your district and be a low seed and it doesn't help you. Or you could finish dead last in your district and still make the playoffs, which happens from time to time. Let's go over the scores from this past week. And I will ask you, if something surprises you, say it. Because when we were about to start, you had said there were a couple of scores you saw.
There were a couple of scores that surprised me, yes.
So first one from District 8-4A, E.D. White, 49, South Lafourche 27. E.D. White actually was winning this one big and put in a lot of subs lately. The score actually looks a little closer than what it was. I think the Cardinals are getting something together. They're really good. Because listen, South Lafourche is good. So E.D. White's obviously playing well. Let's pick out the scores from just that district right now. That's District 8-4A, which houses all of our Bayou region teams in this area. Ellender Memorial 10, South Terrebonne 9.
That's one of the ones.
I was waiting for you.
Look, I was at South Terrebonne as a teacher for many years, and that was always a huge rivalry game. And I just remember Coach Curlin, before he retired, he was always talking about it. I can't remember the last time we lost to Ellender, and so it was always a big deal.
Well, I did coach there a lot, and I think one time, maybe in the mid-90s, we lost. But it has been dominated by South Terrebonne. The thing about South Terrebonne is they needed that win. They plummeted in the power rankings, and it sort of helped Ellender. Listen, kudos to Aaron.
Good for Ellender.
Yeah, he's a good coach. Aaron is, and Aaron really takes stock in the kids. And I'm glad to see something positive there happen for Ellender. I'm gonna, it's sort of an opinion. The two schools probably should be playing together right now because there's not that many kids on the east/south side of Terrebonne Parish. And boy, if those two schools could get together. I only say that because when I was a kid, that's where I went to high school and we were all together. And it's still, to this day, it's weird that Ellender and South Terrebonne are two different high schools on the south side of town. Let's go Lutcher. Listen, was supposed to be one of the teams to look out for. Obviously, Vanderbilt was. Vanderbilt defensively just throttled Lutcher. I do understand Lutcher has a ninth grade quarterback they had to put in there, and he's having growing pains right now. But nonetheless, Vanderbilt Catholic can play some defense. Listen, Vanderbilt and E.D. White are on a collision course for the last game of the year. That ought to be really interesting. Morgan City sort of has fallen off the face of the earth. They lose to Assumption 54-20, and that's Assumption's first win of the year.
Wow.
So they pick up their first win of the year there. So yeah, that district is pretty interesting the way it's starting to all pan out. E.D. White is undefeated in district. Vanderbilt is undefeated the season long and undefeated in district. And they're in a collision course. I think that's what's going to happen there. Let's look at Division 5A. And I'm curious to get your take on this one. Terrebonne 28, Destrehan 41.
Another shock for me. I was expecting that to be a lot closer.
It was a track meet early on. This is the game I actually watched on Friday night. It was a track meet early on, and Terrebonne couldn't keep up the pace of Destrehan scoring, and Destrehan sort of pulls away in that one. And interestingly enough, last year, Terrebonne against Hornville lost, and then they came back the next week and beat Destrehan. This year, they beat Hornville, and then they lose to Destrehan. I think that's going to be a three-team race up there. Possibly Thibodeau High giving them some struggles along the way too. Nonetheless, Terrebonne goes down to Destrehan. The other school I just mentioned, Thibodeau, got a 25-6 win over East St. John. East St. John is winless. Thibodeau 5-0. Lowell Northeast doing one heck of a job there in Thibodeau. It gets tough for them next week. They really get into the district slate next week, so we'll see how Thibodeau fares in that. Congratulations to Central Lafourche. They get a big win over Central Catholic. It was not a district game. That was their open date, but they win that one 56-24. Let's see who else we got. Oh, Hornville. Hornville put it on H.L. Bourgeois 48-7. Hornville was a little upset at what happened to them against Terrebonne, I'm guessing. H.L. Bourgeois was on a win streak, and unfortunately that comes to a screeching halt there. Let's see what we got. No other ones there. Okay, let's drop down to District 7-2A. In District 7-2A, our local school is Homer Christian, and Homer Christian is having trouble scoring points.
Unfortunate.
Yep, they lose again. 48-0 was the final in that one against Ascension Christian. Ascension Christian has been struggling just a little bit too, but boy, they didn't struggle on Friday night. Homer Christian goes down to the team from Gonzales. Then we go down to District 7-1A. In District 7-1A, CCA, I was told this by someone there at CCA, St. John runs a wing tee, and they run it pretty well. Little school, not a lot of kids there at St. John out of Plaquemine, but when they run the wing tee, it gets a little confusing sometimes, and they sort of ran it, misdirection, confused CCA a little bit. CCA loses it 28-21 to St. John. So CCA, who was 10-0 last year, already has 2 losses as we're at the halfway point of this year. The team to watch out for in that particular district is Jeanerette, man. Jeanerette seems to be very strong. So this week, we implore, we hope that you can. We ask you to set aside a little bit of time. Go out and support a game in the local community. Whether it's volleyball or football, there are a lot of JV games on Wednesday nights. There's a lot of ninth grade games on Thursday nights, and some JV on Thursday nights, and a lot of varsity games on Friday. Let's get to the varsity slate for this upcoming Friday. Vanderbilt is going to be at South Lafourche. That's a huge one. South Lafourche, to stay in the district hunt, has to win that game. Going to be at South Lafourche. Thibodeau is going to be at Hornville. I mentioned Thibodeau was jumping into the fire. They're about to get into it as they go out to Boutique to take on Hornville this week. St. Charles Catholic. Wow, what a good football team. They lost a heartbreaker to St. James this past weekend for their first loss of the year. They're going to be at Terrebonne. That's a non-district game, but it's a huge PowerPoint game for both teams. H.L. Bourgeois going to be at Destrehan. If they thought it was tough last week, now you got to get on a bus and go to Destrehan. What a tough district. Central Lafourche going to be at East St. John. Let's see if Central Lafourche can build on that win they had against Central Catholic and come away with a win against East St. John this week, a winless East St. John team. E.D. White's taking on Morgan City. You'd have to believe that E.D. White's going to get a lot of young kids in that game early. Ellender, man, listen, there are some this week that are interesting. I think the Ellender game could be interesting because they take on Assumption this week. Ellender get in the playoffs if they beat Assumption. South Terrebonne's at Lutcher. If they thought it was bad last week, now they got to go ride to Lutcher. That's why that loss to Ellender was so huge for them. Central Catholic's going to be at home. They'll be taking on Hanson Memorial. That's sort of a rival game. Two Catholic schools that are right down from each other on Highway 90. Covenant Christian is going to be at Berwick. Berwick has been struggling this year. They did get their first win this past weekend, but it was against a Thrive Academy team that hadn't won yet this year. So we'll see how that one goes. And finally, for our friends over there in the St. Mary area, Kaplan is going to be at Patterson this week. So a lot of games going on this week. Hope you could go out and take on one. It is week 6 of the high school football season. PowerPoint's becoming very, very important. And finally, we sort of have figuring out which teams are good and which teams are not as good along the way. I know everybody's working really hard. I mean, obviously they all want to win. Yeah, but we're starting to figure things out just a little bit. That's it, Dustin. That's a look at all of the volleyball and football in the area. We are happy to at least be able to bring this to you so that you can see who's playing who this week, maybe get a little insight to each of the games. We hope you go out and enjoy a game. Again, to subscribe, everybody just sort of goes down at the bottom here and do it. I need to do that more at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the podcast. But we would love for you to subscribe by just going at the bottom. You get notifications of when we drop each Monday. Again, we do this every Monday just to let you know what sort of happened the week before and what's happening the week coming up. Our friend Casey is probably going to be back with us next week. I say probably. We sort of have it lined up, but you never know what happens in a week time. That being said, go to his Bayou Sports on the Facebook page. I think he said he had it somewhere else too.
Well, yeah, he's got a website, bayousports.com as well.
You can go check out and get more daily information, more weekly and daily information where you get scores like each night of all of the activity that goes on in the area. So we appreciate everything he does in sports for the area too. Again, that's it for us. October 6th, again, National Coaches Day. Congratulations and thanks to all you coaches for everything you do. We appreciate you, not only on the fields, on the courts, in the swimming pools, wherever you may be, but in the classroom too, because we know on the high school level, all of you are teachers along with being coaches. Got to go, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care.